Welcome to Kentik Tech Talk series, where we talk about simple tech topics in 15 minutes or so. Today, we'll be talking about how to set up a Kentik trial. Let me give you a brief background on what Kentik does. Kentik is an insights and automation platform where we can consume NetFlow and other details of your network at scale in real time and provide you insights around that. We were founded in 2014. We have about 250 plus customers. ISPs, universities, enterprise customers, anybody who has a network and needs to monitor the network. And we're based in San Francisco. My name is Akshay. I'm the Senior Solutions Engineer at Kentik here. In terms of how we can help you, Kentik as a platform will provide real-time visibility across your entire network, whether it be edge, cloud, data center, or anything in between. We can help isolate problems, find baselines of how your network does on a day-to-day basis, and then find deviations of those baselines and alert you on those. For anybody who did not know, we also provide a 30-day free trial where you can visualize your own network traffic data in more depth. And as I said, today we'll be seeing how to get started with that. In terms of a typical Kentik trial checklist, these are the kinds of things that we'll go through. How to set up an account. Once you set up an account, how to send data sources or add data sources to us. Typically, we'll be talking about how to set up NetFlow and several options to set up NetFlow, set up SNMP, and then optionally set up BGP as well. Once those three things are done, which we call as our primary source of ingest, then you would proceed to doing account setup and adding your own custom dimensions or other enrichment to your data. Finally, we'll talk about a little bit about dashboards and ad hoc reporting. In terms of NetFlow and what data sources we support NetFlow version 5, version 9, IPFix, JFlow, SFlow, or any other standardized template of NetFlow. Along with that, as we have mentioned here, we also support extended NetFlow templates. For example, Palo Alto firewalls, Meraki, Cisco ASA, they send extended NetFlow templates in IPFix formats, and you're able to consume that as well. In terms of setting the NetFlow, there are several options you can send your data via. Option one is when folks want to set up direct NetFlow to us, which is when we provide an IP and a port to you, and you would send the NetFlow to us in clear over the internet. Option two is when you would want to encrypt your flows locally in your premises before they leave your premise. For that, we have a encryption agent. We call it kproxy, or a proxy agent, which you would install in your own network and send all of your NetFlow to it. The agent will also do SNMP polling before encrypting the data and sending it back to us. Option three is when you need a private interconnect, and we can have a direct connect between Kentik Cloud, where we are in Equinix Ashburn, and you guys, if need be. Next, when we talk about SNMP, there is again three options to set up SNMP. Option one is to allow Kentik IP addresses to poll your devices. We request a read-only community so that we can go and poll your devices for SNMP and relevant information. Option two is if you don't want to enable Kentik IP addresses to poll you, we can poll the devices using an agent which sits inside your premises. This is the kproxy agent again, which will do local SNMP polling, and there is relevant information here, and we'll talk about that in a second. Option three is if you don't support SNMP or don't want to support SNMP, we have an API gateway where you can let us know all the interfaces of your devices, the interface IDs, and some other details using API. Finally, once all those three things, which is Flow, SNMP, and BGP are set up, we'll start seeing your information in the portal. That should be good for some preset views, after which you can go ahead and do more classification, which helps us identify the direction of your traffic, namely network classification and interface classification. You can also define sites and devices if you need to, and a whole suite of other things, for example, custom applications or custom dimensions and tags. If you're interested in getting started, you can email us at info@kentik.com or set up a trial for your own, and I'll show you how to do that. To set up a trial, go to kentik.com and navigate to a trial button here. We have two independent clusters, US and EU. You can set up in either of those. I'm going to set up my trial account in our US cluster. Once you fill this form and it succeeds, you should receive an email to set up your own password and information with other login credentials. I will go ahead and set up my own account and see you in a second. To log into your account, navigate to portal.kentik.com and it should present you with a login page. Enter your user ID and the password that you just set up. Once you log in, it should present you with an onboarding screen. So let's get started. The first question is about your network. This is where you can tell us how you use your network or what the primary function of your network is. This information we use later on to provide you with insights and tailor the content in your platform. Next, define network boundaries. As the map shows, this is a place where we can help identify what direction of your traffic is. As you can see here, there are several different directions of traffic, and we identify this using the IP addresses that you provide or the IP addresses that you announce. So fill in the IP addresses that you own or your ASN. I'll just put a dummy IP address for demo. This is where you should define all of your IP addresses. Next, you can define what ASN belongs to your network. 6169 is Kentik's ASN, which is what I'm plugging in here. Click Next. Now you can define the data sources. Generally speaking, there are two kinds of data sources you can add. There is a network device, which is a router or a switch or a firewall, and there are several of those that we can support. And then there is public clouds, which is AWS, GCP, or Azure, where we can take native VPC flow logs from them. Today, we'll be adding a NetFlow device. Let's get started. Provide a name to your device. Provide an optional description. Next, you can choose what vendor your routers or switches or firewalls are from. In my case, this is a Cisco XE device, which is what I'm going to select. If there is a device which you don't see here on the screen, you should go and select the other router or switch. Let's go ahead and select a Cisco device. When you add a device in Kentik, you need to define a site. This is where you can define or create your first site. You can also provide an actual street address for your site. We use this information down the road to integrate with peering DB and find shared facilities between you and any other peer that we can find for you. I'm going to use Kentik's office address. Once you get a message that the site has been added successfully, you can go ahead and assign that site for this device. Let's go through this again. You have the name, the description, the Cisco router that you had selected. Now it presents you with an option to select the site that you just created. Select the site and click Finish. Once you click Finish and you have added the device and associated it with the site, it will present you with options to get started on Flow, BGP, and SNMP. Let's get started with Flow. In every screen, we will try to present with a diagram to help you understand what is it that you are trying to do. This is your router, which is going to send us flow over the internet to Kentik. We would need to know what your sending IP is. This is the IP address that comes along with the flow, which is the flow IP or the flow source IP. My device has an IP 52.220.138.238. This should be a public IP so that it reaches us and we can reach you. Click Next. Next, you'll have to define a sampling rate. Caution must be taken when you define sampling rate, as it must be the same sampling rate that is configured on the router. So if your router is sampling on 1:10, this is what you would need to configure here. Having a mismatched sample rate would cause data to be shown incorrectly down the road. Here, you can configure NetFlow. If your device is not configured to send NetFlow already, we can help you with the configuration template itself. Depending upon the device that you would have chosen in the previous step, we will present you with the right configuration template. This is what your configuration would look like on an iOS device. Once you define flow, you can go ahead and set up SNMP. We support SNMP version 2 and version 3, and I'm going to go ahead and set up version 2 in my case. Here again, you would need to provide the IP address that we need to go and poll your device by. We poll for interface and interface counters and interface descriptions. I'm going to use the same public IP address, which is reachable from over the internet. Next, you would need to provide us with a read-only community. This is what your SNMP configuration would look like. If it's not already enabled, go ahead and use this as your template. If it's already enabled, go ahead and open up an access list for Kentik IP addresses so that we can successfully poll your device. These IP address, this /23 is the block that will poll you from. Click Finish once done. Finally, you can set up BGP. BGP is optional. You can enable or disable BGP per device. You can peer with per device or use the BGP table from an already peered device. Since this is the first device, I'm going to say yes, and then peer with this device on an IPv4 address. If you have an IPv6 address, you will go ahead and choose those. Another thing to note here is BGP will always be over the internet, and it will be an iBGP session, meaning the ASN that we will peer with is the local ASN that you have. Click Next. Provide your router's peering IP address here. In my case, it's the same public IP address. As I said, provide the ASN that belongs to your router, the local ASN on the router. In my case, it is 6169. If you have an MD5 password, you can go ahead and type that one here. Once done, click Next. You will again be presented with a BGP configuration that you can apply on your routers. There are some things to note here. As I said, this is the iBGP configuration. We would need to be a route reflector client. That command comes up here. And then finally, we can receive the full routing table from your device. We will not announce anything to you. However, care must be taken to not send us the default route. Taking the default route out can be done using a prefix list, and there is an example given here. Click Finish once done. Another thing to note here is you can go ahead and configure everything within Kentik without you needing to configure everything on the device just yet. Let's go ahead and create a device within Kentik. As you can see, this device is successfully set up within Kentik. On the screen, we'll yet again present you with all of the necessary configuration snippets for Flow, SNMP, and BGP. Have a look at them, edit them, and apply it on your devices if need be. It may take from 10 to 20 minutes for the system to detect flow for the first time. This only applies for the initial flow detection, as there is a lot of back-end processing that we do when the flow comes in for the first time. Once we receive the data, we will indicate if we have received flow, SNMP, or BGP by turning these red icons to green. From here, you can proceed to Kentik. Once you are here, you'll be presented with a landing page, typically Network Explorer. Here, you can explore your total traffic, your inbound, outbound traffic, traffic per device, application, interface, and a whole suite of other things. We'll discuss those in some other video. For now, I'll leave you with how to access our knowledge base. If you navigate to top right and click onto your profile, you should see a link to access our KB. There is a lot of documentation you can read through, from how to set up Flow, what is Flow, or how to use the UI. If you're interested in trialing this for your own environment, email us at info@kentik.com and schedule a demo or schedule a trial. Thank you very much for spending the time.